Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 68th episode of Kouryer podcast. Today, I'm joined in Marianna Yakimova. She's a 3D modeling and animation artist for working on fashion and film and game projects, and also founder and art director of Pompidou art studio from Moscow, Russia. Now, with that out of the way, could you please give us a little introduction on how you got into visual arts and design?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to thank you for inviting me to your podcast. And how I got into art? Well, basically, I studied art since I was 4 years old. All my life, I've been into art. I also graduated art university in Moscow, but I always studied traditional art. And when I was finishing my university, I first discovered for myself 3D, and I got very impressed with what people do nowadays, how artists make up the whole world, how they make characters and stuff. And so I decided to join and learn myself. And I was a bit lucky because it was, I think, 2014 year, and it was a bit new for Russia. So when I started studying this theme, I was quite successful at my city because it was new. There weren't much specialists. And at the same time, there was quite an information on YouTube or Plural site, such websites about tutorials. So basically, that's how I got into my profession and art. It was a bit of luck and a lot of inspiration from modern artists.
All right, and you already mentioned about your background on what got you into the visual arts and artwork, but the next question I'm going to ask is, were you originally studying art and design, or you were pursuing another career path? Like when you were in high school, did you know that you wanted to be an artist, or you had a different path going on for you? How was it like?
Well, basically, yes, I knew from the beginning that I will be an artist. And I prepared all my life for this path. And when actually a time came, I went to art school in Moscow, and then I went to art university, basically. And I knew myself that I will do something that has to do with art. I didn't know exactly what I would do. Maybe like, I don't know, website design, or maybe icons or logos or fashion design. To me, it was all art. I studied in particular fashion design, and in particular shoes and bags design, and all the items that has to do with leather. But we also studied traditional art. So basically, I don't know how to consider this. If to consider that fashion design is different from 3D, then maybe, yes, I had another path. But if to consider it as, I don't know, as something in one area, then maybe no. I always been an artistic person and basically always studied art. Something like that. I don't know even how to answer correctly.
No, that was pretty good, clear answer. This question is actually pretty interesting because I always get a completely different answer from everyone who comes on the podcast. Because like it's I would say, yeah, I would confidently say that it's kind of rare that artists know from the beginning they want to become an artist. From the get-go, they want to be a visual artist or whatever. And also, at the same time, their family is supportive of that choice, because most times that's not the case. You know, the parents usually want you become a doctor or an engineer or a lawyer or something like that, but never.
To be honest, I have a daughter, and when she grows up, I would want her to become a doctor or a lawyer. I wouldn't want her to be artistic. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's of course like becoming a doctor or a lawyer. Yes, I mean that's the main reason that parents want their kids to be is because they will have a stable life. 100%.
Yes.
But
that's true.
But yes, you will have financial stability, but is that really all? I mean, it kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to get too philosophical about it. but I personally, that I couldn't do that because that wouldn't be me, it wouldn't like fulfill me,
Well, basically, yes, that's the reason why I chose art, because I had this feeling that if I will do something else, I would lose in this life. I don't know what will I lose, but I would feel myself as if I lost a battle or something. I don't know. I was sure that it has to be art, but basically, when I actually did get into art, I thought that, well, other professions are also interesting. Well, maybe it's because I'm already in the other business and I'm fine and confidential in it. I can, head for something else. But if I wouldn't ever been such successful, then maybe yes, I would have been upset. That's all.
Yeah. And speaking of your profession, what is your main branch of design that you're focusing on right now? And tell us about your experience from the start of it until now. And I mean, of course, in the introduction, I already mentioned that you're a 3D modeler, 3D modeling artist and animation artist, but I want you to give us a little bit more detail and in-depth explanation of that.
Well, I specialize on creating digital humans with realistic clothing, hairstyles, and portraiture. Well, in the last time I had I had many orders to create influencers. So influencers, they don't have any portraiture. They just have to be stylish and much of this Instagram diva style with big lips, makeup and stuff. But basically, I started my path with creating realistic humans, and I tried to master this road. And now I do influences, I do digital humans, portraitures. Mostly I do clothing for fashion, for digital runaways, e-commerce. Basically, that's all. I do also environments, maybe some other design orders. Like we did props for films, we did animals, we do everything that has to do with 3D, but I don't find it that interesting to showcase as showcasing some garments and humans. I just think that whenever you post a human that looks real, it just draws a lot more attention than posting, for example, environmental props. Maybe I'm just not quite lucky at this, because other artists, they do post, I don't know, environments or furniture, and it looks interesting and draws a lot of attention. But I'm not quite lucky at this. I'm lucky with posting clothes. I don't know why it happens. Maybe because I started fashion. I don't know. So.
You said something really interesting when you were explaining. You said you make works for digital runways. That sounds interesting. Like, could you go in details about
this? This tendency of creating digital fashion and runaways. I first had an orders when in 2020 we had this quarantine, coronavirus and stuff, and total lockdown in the whole world. I don't know why. I thought it would be a crisis for me. I won't have any work or anything, but I had so many orders to create clothing, shoes, influencers. It was a surprise, actually. It started then, maybe it was earlier, but I had an invitation to such projects like last year, and it lasts till now. So I think it's quite a new direction in 3D modeling, because before it was mostly popular games and films, I don't know, some fantasies and stuff. And now there's this type of art, I would say. And actually, I see a potential in it. I see there's so many things that you can create and develop and make up of. So, yeah.
All right. And how does your design process usually go anytime you want to start working on a design project?
I think it's quite boring. My story would be, because from what I see, I would get inspired maybe by some artists from Instagram or ArtStation, or I don't know, maybe see some artwork, maybe from classical painting. So basically, I see something that inspires me. If it's not a commercial project, I would just get a brief that explains what I have to do, and that's all. But if it's a personal creative project, I get inspired. I gather some references. As long as I gather references, I fall even more in love with with the project. Then I recommend other artists and myself. I would start making sketches, drawings. I would draw so that, when you create something creative, your first ideas are usually boring ones. So to dive to ideas that are creative and fresh and new, you have to draw out all your thoughts on the paper until you come up with something interesting. And then once that comes out, I would start blocking out ideas in 3D Max, or Maya. Depends on the mood. I equally use those tools, 3D Max and Maya. I don't separate them. Then I would move to Marvelous Design if it's about clothing. Then I would move to ZBrush for detailing and sculpting details. The rest depends on the project. If it's animation, I would animate in 3D Max the character, go to Marvelous Design, animate the clothing, add details, and export it as displacement maps from ZBrush. And then I will set up a scene in 3D Max and use V-Ray for rendering out. So basically, that's my main workflow.
All right. And speaking of workflows and the design process, and actually, I checked when I was checking your works before wanting to invite you to the podcast. I saw that you're very active on YouTube and also ArtStation as well. Could you please tell us about how has the experience been making art tutorials on these platforms?
To be honest, I don't quite even remember why I started to post videos on YouTube, or why I decided to make my first tutorial on ArtStation. I think it was because I was making a project, and maybe I wanted to be discovered more. I don't know. But I first posted my time lapse on YouTube, and it was quite successful. I was creating Maeve. So her name was from the series The Westworld. I think it was Maeve, the character's name. I don't know. Sandy Newton, actress name was, and it was quite successful. And then I decided, why not try to make a tutorial? And I created my first tutorial and decided to sell it on ArtStation. To be honest, I didn't expect to sell anything. It was just, just giving it a try. That's all. But in about a week or two, I received my first dollar from ArtStation, and I decided, well, maybe the world needs my tutorials. Why not try and record my process whenever I'm creating something and explain it to people who want to get into 3D, or maybe that are in a situation that I was once, when you want to learn 3D and you don't know where to start, where to learn it. For example, in Russia, when I started learning 3D, there was no universities that would teach you 3D, no schools, nothing. So I had to gather all the information by myself from YouTube, digital tutors, plural site. So maybe I decided, why won't I share my experience with other people? And so I recorded my first tutorial. I wrote some explanations, and I didn't want it to be a commercial tutorial. I wanted to give chance to everyone, to those who don't get possibilities to buy a tutorial, and at the same time to those who can afford it and maybe support me financially in that way. So I created 2 versions, and I posted one on YouTube and another on ArtStation. And it was successful. So I decided to continue, and then somehow audience liked it. I didn't input anything in YouTube, and I somehow got almost 6,000 followers, not doing anything at all. And my videos are being viewed, also me not doing any advertising or anything. So to me, it says that maybe I should continue in that way, because maybe it is useful to some people if they watch it. So, and it wasn't that hard. I don't know, maybe I was just lucky, that's all. I can't, I don't know, tell much of it, because I didn't do anything. I didn't advertise it. It was just luck. I just created something, posted it. I didn't expect anything in return, and somehow it came back with something, with some results. So what I can say to maybe other artists who want to share their also tutorials and start selling stuff, but just give it a try. It will come back with some results. Maybe not as quickly as somebody expects it to come back, but it will come back. That's all.
And are the tutorials right now available to purchase on ArtStation?
Yes, all the tutorials are available on ArtStation. But if somebody can't afford to buy them, there's a copy of them on YouTube. Just that YouTube doesn't have a voice cover or written explanation. It's just like a process of demonstrating my workflow. So maybe YouTube is more for those artists who already are in 3D and they understand everything without explanation and just want to see my workflow. And tutorials on ArtStation are more for beginners who don't know much and need some explanations and stuff.
All right, that sounds awesome. And let's move on to the next question. Who are your favorite artists and designers that have inspired you the most?
Well, I really get inspired by old masters. But from new, I learned a lot from Scott Eaton. I believe he's quite a famous artist who teaches anatomy. And basically, I learned anatomy from his tutorials. I can't really mention or list artists because there's so many good artists, and I can't say that one is better than another. They're all good, and it makes an impression that as if they're thousands of artists, and they really do inspire me. In fact, I get more inspired by work maybe than by artist's name. I'm now subscribed to Maria Panfilova art. I like her art. I think Ian Springs, his name is. Also, I like his art. I mean, there's so many artists. Some are from China. I really apologize, but I can't pronounce their names, and I can't even remember it because they're quite complicated for me. But I like their arts. So I like also to observe watercolor artists. I don't know why, but I like this idea of water. When artists uses water and color to represent something, especially portraits. So, well, maybe my answer is a bit
All right.
uninteresting.
No,
but
absolutely not.
That's how it is.
All right, thank you so much. And what technologies and softwares do you most use for your works?
Software. Well, as I already mentioned, 3D Max and Maya. That's for modeling. Also, Marvelous Designer for modeling clothes. I use ZBrush for modeling and sculpting. That's more of like details or maybe for 3D printing. I use Substance Painter for texturing and Photoshop, obviously. Also, I use V-Ray for rendering some realistic illustrations. And as a helper, I use Marmoset Toolbag to view how an asset would look in game engine, for example, in Unreal Engine or Unity. I think that's all. Yeah, that's all.
All right. And in your opinion, how to grow on social media as an artist? Do you have any tips and advice for upcoming artists to how to grow their social media presence?
You know, in about 2 weeks ago, I passed a free marathon about SMM and how to grow on Instagram, Facebook, and so on. So I kind of expanded my skills. And from what I learned and what I've been actively using on my account is that a starting artist, a new artist, he should create about 9 works that could be successful that he can post on social sites. I would recommend Instagram, ArtStation, Behance, maybe YouTube. Those 4 resources are actually the most successful in my experience. And maybe concentrate on those 4 sites. And the rest would go, well, what can I say? Start with something. I remember I started with, wait a second. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. No worries at all.
I apologize. I started making art that was in different styles. So I can't recommend for a newbie to start with only one style and keep a hold on one style. Although, as I observed, successful artists, they always follow one style in their portfolio, and it looks more interesting than when you have many styles. But from my experience, what I started at the beginning and what I'm doing now are absolutely different things, because at first I was more into games, and I did everything that would fit a game style, games idea. But because I worked in many styles, I also tried myself as a comic artist, as a car rendering artist, sculpting, for 3D printing, everything. I tried different styles. And somehow digital humans and fashion got most successful. So I would advise to start different styles because you don't know what will be more successful for you. And once you see that something is goes better than something than other styles, then you can develop your portfolio based on this one style because you know that it works for you. Also, from my experience, whenever I'm hiring artists for my project, I really like when an artist has his website. That's for sure. It doesn't have to be some expensive, some expensive, very design, fashionable site or something. It can be simple. For example, Behance offers you a simple site, a portfolio site that you can get yourself for free. That's no problem. Because what tells me a lot about artists are his works, not his, experience that he mentions in his CV or something. Only his works tell me a lot about what can an artist do. And then I start reading his background, his experience and stuff. Also, you see, every day it changes. When I started, it was enough to just post your art on ArtStation, put hashtags, and that's it. And nowadays, it is important to post IGTVs, posts, stories, podcasts to get featured in Instagram algorithm. Also in ArtStation, you have to post many views of your work, not just pictures from different views, but maybe marmoset viewing, render view, video of your work. You have to be more like, cross-platformed artist to get featured by sites. So, and it works now. I don't know what will be in another year. Maybe something different will come up. Because again, this NFT topic that we discussed before the podcast, it's also something new that I got, that I heard about maybe 2 months ago or something. So just keep trying, and that's it.
All right. And also you talked about very well on how to grow on social media and about all of that. But another, question related to that is any advice and tips for a good portfolio and resume for artists?
I don't know how I can give an advice because I think everything what I'm going to say is obvious. A picture of your art, it has to be in good resolution. Try to make different demonstrations of your, different demonstrations of your art. So it's not just a picture. For example, you're creating a game character. For example, you created a game character. Don't just post a game character, from front, back, and side, and that's it. Try making it post. Try posting a concept sketch from which you created this character. It's just an example, a game character. It can be anything else. It's just that in mind I'm having, for example, a game character artist. Also try to post a turnaround of your character, a video maybe a short video that your character is breathing or something, does something, I don't know. It has to be different use of the same work, and then it works. That's how. Also, maybe try recording the process of you creating this character. Maybe a process how you set up a render of this character. It also helps to be discovered. I don't know how those algorithm works, but somehow it works that you do get dependent on the programs. I would say, I don't know, of the website built programs. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying it's quite professional, but it's not just that a human will discover your artwork. It has to be delivered to some person, your art. That's I would say. And to make it get delivered to a viewer, you have to keep in mind all those algorithms. So I don't know. I hope it makes sense what I'm trying to explain.
All right. And what are you working on right now that you can tell us about? What kind of project is it? I mean, of course, if there's an NDA involved, we can skip past this question. But if that's not the case,
I separate my art on commercial projects, which it does include NDA, yes. I don't really like sharing my commercial projects because I find they aren't as interesting as personal creative projects. And I don't really usually talk about commercial projects. But as for personal creative projects that I use to advertise my studio and me as an artist, I'm thinking of creating a new tutorial. It's going to be a tutorial and a project that will demonstrate how to develop the digital collection, clothes collection, how to animate it, how to create realistic humans, how to animate hair. It's going to be quite a lot of information that I hope to share soon, maybe in September, I hope. Also, I'm trying to develop online courses, I would say, on YouTube, where I will be creating something and explaining to the audience how am I doing it. So that's something I want to work on.
All right. And what area beside the area you're working on right now, which is of course art and 3D modeling and all of that, would you be interested to explore and learn in the future? And it could be anything non-art related as well. If you had like enough time and money and everything, so you wouldn't have to worry about anything, what would you pursue?
I would be interested to learn programming. And now, as a hobby, I learn music, playing piano. It really relaxes me a lot. I visit twice a week the music teacher, and I learn music. And I hope that in future I can write songs and also develop a YouTube channel where I will be showcasing my songs and stuff. But that's something to dream about. Basically, yes, programming and music.
All right. And well, with everything that's been said and done in this episode, to conclude all we discussed, could you please give us a roadmap for someone who is zero in visual arts and wants to get to the place you are in terms of skill set, like where to start, everything? Like for someone who's zero wants to get to, to where you are right now. What steps should they take?
Okay, I will just describe what I did when I was new. I opened pluralsight.com. It's not that I'm advertising Pluralsight, it's just that I started from Pluralsight. Maybe there are other platforms that are a lot better and have a lot better tutorials. I went there. Well, basically, first I got inspired. I saw some work created in 3D, some realistic character. And I went like, how to create it. And I first went to Pluralsight and I first learned 3D Max. I just watched how to create it. Then I learned ZBrush. And I would advise for a new artist to make up some small project for himself, something that he wants to express. I don't know, maybe game characters, as I already said, and try to make it for himself because once you start creating something, some personal project, imagine you're doing it for a studio or something and you get paid for it. Once you start creating a project, you start having some questions. And once you start finding answers to those questions, you will start developing your skills. So basically, just make in mind some project. Even if you won't get successful, and even if it won't be the type of quality you imagined from the first, that's not the case. You will develop your skills once you start answering those questions that you get along the road. Then don't get shy, post your work on web. And basically, all my first clients, they found me themselves. So just post your work, keep posting, keep, developing your skills, and you will receive your first orders soon. And that's it. Just keep going. That's how I see it.
All right. Thank you so much for coming by. Where can people contact you if they had a question? Is your Instagram okay?
Can you please repeat your question?
If anyone wanted to contact you or had a question, is your Instagram okay for contact?
Yes, no problem. You can also use my email. It's also mentioned on my Instagram, my website. I'm always open. I'm open for questions. If somebody has questions about, about program or something, feel free to contact me. If somebody has a question about orders or maybe work, or maybe somebody wants to collaborate with me, feel free to write to me. You can only write hello. I also would be very glad to receive a mail.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming by, and thank you for everyone who tuned in and listened to this episode. And I hope you all stay safe and have a good day. And until next episode, bye.
Bye.